Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra are full of powerful benders, and today I'm ranking the top 5 most powerful airbenders. This is Popcorn Heist, where I love discussing movies and TV and ranking things from worst to best, and throughout the month of April, I'm discussing the top 5 most powerful benders from each element in Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. So a few weeks ago, I discussed water, then I discussed earth, then I discussed fire, and now I'm discussing air. So if you're interested in those videos, definitely go ahead and check those out as well. And of course, subscribe for more Avatar: The Legend of Korra and movie and TV content in general. Spoilers for Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. I'm only ranking benders who were alive from the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender on, so I'm not including characters who were dead before the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I am excluding the Avatar state because I feel like that gives a little bit of an unfair advantage to avatars. I will, however, be discussing not just airbending, but also any sub-bending types. So in this case, I'm including flying and spiritual projection. But before I get to the ranking, at Popcorn Heist, I choose a quote per video. And the quote of today's video is, "The air nomads detached themselves from worldly concerns and found peace and freedom." Also, they apparently had pretty good senses of humor, which was said by Iroh to Zuko when he's kind of teaching him about all the different elements and the nature of each element. And I feel like this is just a fun quote about airbending and gives a little bit of context on the air nomads and their philosophy and how they detach themselves from the rest of the world, and even plays into the nature of some airbending types that we learn in The Legend of Korra. And the note about good senses of humor, I feel like really speaks specifically to Aang really well, and how he's able to take on such a important responsibility, but still have fun and make light of certain situations and still enjoy his life and have a good sense of humor throughout his life. And I feel like that really plays into his personality and the personality of his grandchildren in The Legend of Korra. So getting into the ranking, at number 5, I have Kai, who is introduced in The Legend of Korra Season 3 after the resurgence of airbending after harmonic convergence. He's actually the first airbender aside from Aang's family to join the airbending nation and kind of learn the nature of airbending. And at first he's annoying and is trying to get the better of everyone and rob everyone, but over time he becomes a compelling character who really has care for those around him and is really an integral part of the Air Nation. Throughout his training from Tenzin and his close relationship with Jinora, he actually becomes a pretty powerful airbender and is important to the fight against Zaheer and the Red Lotus in Season 3 and against Kuvira and the defense of Republic City in Season 4. And I really have to give him a lot of respect for taking on Pli, the combustion bender, in Season 3 and allowing the other air nomads to escape. It really shows how he progressed from a very selfish character to a very selfless character within that season. I wouldn't consider Kai an extremely powerful bender in general, but because there's just not as many airbenders due to the airbenders basically being extinct in Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then throughout half of Legend of Korra you really only have Aang's family, there's just not as many super powerful airbenders, and I do feel like Kai stands out among the pack aside from Aang's family. And that's why I have him ranked at number 5 on this list. At number 4, I have Jinora, who is the eldest granddaughter of Aang and the eldest daughter of Tenzin. I feel like she really shows that she's a pretty powerful character throughout The Legend of Korra, and she becomes pretty pivotal, especially in Season 2 of The Legend of Korra. She becomes a pretty solid airbender from learning from her father Tenzin, and she also understands the power of airbenders in a group and airbenders as a nation together, and that's why she's able to lead the airbending nation in taking down Zaheer and creating the tornado that helps Korra defeat him in Season 3 of The Legend of Korra. But I think the most powerful thing about her is her use of spirit projection, which is kind of a sub-bending type or offshoot of airbending, and I feel like that is really what makes her the most pivotal and useful character, and one of the more unique characters in The Legend of Korra. Because of her knowledge of airbending and spirit projection, and her ability to bring the Air Nation together after harmonic convergence, she becomes the youngest airbending master of all time, even beating Aang to that title. So she's definitely a powerful bender at a very young age and is able to use a very specific type of airbending in spirit projection. Before I get to my number 3 choice, I feel like I have to say that all of the top 3 are super powerful benders. I feel like there is a big drop off from number 4 to number 3 on this list, and I feel like all of the top 3 are all pretty close, and I could see a case being made for how any of them are more powerful than the other. But at number 3, I have Zaheer, the leader of the Red Lotus in Season 3 of The Legend of Korra, and really the main villain of Season 3 of The Legend of Korra. He gets his airbending from harmonic convergence, but he's clearly studied airbending in the past and is a very powerful martial artist, so he's able to pick up airbending very, very quickly, which I feel like is really impressive in the first place. And he quickly becomes a force to be reckoned with and a really powerful adversary to Korra in Season 3, who quickly learns airbending and is able to free both himself and his Red Lotus friends from each of their high security prisons. He sends basically the entire Earth Nation into chaos by killing the Earth Queen with his suffocation technique, and he also defeats some pretty powerful benders in Kaya, who learned waterbending from Katara, and Tanrak, who's shown to be a pretty powerful waterbender throughout The Legend of Korra. He also contends with Tenzin, who's clearly a airbending master, who learned from Aang and is a super powerful character. And Tenzin definitely does get the better of Zaheer during their fight, but it is pretty impressive that Zaheer is able to contend with Tenzin, an airbending master, after just a few weeks of being able to use airbending. That's before he even achieves his most powerful ability, when he gives up all of his worldly possessions and learns to fly without a glider, which is something that hasn't been achieved by any airbender in generations, including Tenzin or Aang. And once he does achieve the power of flight, he does contend with Korra with all 4 elements and the Avatar state. Granted, she is poisoned, but he's still giving her a good fight before the poison really kicks in, and does hold his own and show he's really powerful, especially once he's able to fly. So definitely a powerful character and powerful airbender with a unique ability that really no other character achieves, but I still don't think his use of just that one ability makes him more powerful than the other 2 characters I have higher than him on this list. At number 2, I have Tenzin, Avatar Aang's son and the mentor to Avatar Korra throughout The Legend of Korra, and I feel like Tenzin is really the ultimate master of airbending that we get to see as an adult throughout either show. And when I first started The Legend of Korra, I actually didn't love Tenzin because I felt like he was so rigid as compared to Aang, and we know airbenders as free and fun-loving, and Tenzin really didn't seem to embody that. But as the show went on, I think he was such a compelling character and great mentor and such a beast, especially in later seasons of The Legend of Korra, and I just grew to love him so much. We see Tenzin by Korra's side throughout the show. We see him fighting multiple equalists in Season 1. We see him fighting against Unalaq and his band in Season 2. And we see him defending Republic City in Season 4, but I think his most powerful moment is really in Season 3 when he fights Zaheer one-on-one and takes on all of the Red Lotus by himself. And it shows he's not just a powerful airbender, but a really brave character and a true mentor to Korra, who's willing to take on the world for her and really never give up on her. The fight between Tenzin and Zaheer is one of my favorites in either show, and I do love that they kind of give us an answer on which one is more powerful within that battle by having Tenzin kind of take him on and beat him up until the other Red Lotus members really come in to help Zaheer. I feel like sometimes Avatar and The Legend of Korra can give us reasons certain characters lose a fight, like they're powered down or they're hurt or they're not at full power, but I feel like that fight is really the one time we get 2 masters in the same element just going at it, and they really do answer which one is the more powerful of the 2. And at that moment, it is Tenzin. Again, granted, Zaheer has not achieved the power of flight at that point, but I still don't think that negates just how powerful Tenzin is, which is why I have him above Zaheer and at number 2 on this list. Before I get to my final choice, some honorable mentions. Of course, Aang's other grandchildren in Ikki and Milo, who both learn airbending from Tenzin. Milo having the ability to fart bend, which I guess is the only character we see doing that in either show. So I guess he has kind of his own type of bending as well. Bumi, Aang's son, who is kind of like the Jar Jar of airbending to me. He doesn't have the most technical airbending skills, but he just kind of throws himself at the situation and hopes for the best, and he does pretty well against Gazan, the lava bender from the Red Lotus. Another honorable mention is Opal, who gains the power to airbend after harmonic convergence and is able to become an integral part of the Air Nation. And because we don't have as many airbenders as the other elements, I'll throw Avatar Korra in the ring there too. Although we don't see her relying on airbending too much as compared to the other elements, she does get the better of Amon using only airbending. And at number 1, no huge surprise here, Avatar Aang. A super young master airbender, I feel like Aang really does embody what it truly means to be an airbender. He's a free and fun-loving character who's able to make light of certain situations, but also has such a sense of responsibility and leadership when he needs to. Although he's young, he has some super impressive airbending feats. He defeats an entire Fire Nation ship and basically sinks the ship using just airbending. And throughout the show, he uses airbending to defeat so many powerful adversaries like Zuko, King Bumi, and Admiral Zhao. Although he does have the ability to use all of the elements later in the show, he does rely on airbending by far the most and shows he's super powerful with it. He coined the iconic air scooter technique, which continues to be used by him throughout Avatar: The Last Airbender and throughout Legend of Korra by other characters. Of course, his most iconic battle is against the Fire Lord, and he fares pretty well, although the Fire Lord does get the best of him until he uses the Avatar state, which I'm not taking into this equation, but it is still impressive that at 14 he's able to contend with such a powerful bender. And although he's young, I just think he's super powerful with airbending, and I do think he shows he's the most powerful airbender we see, and I'm super excited to see him use airbending as a more advanced bender and as an adult in future Avatar media. He also shows he truly lives by the airbender ideals when he spares the Fire Lord's life and takes his bending away instead of killing him, and shows he has a true value for life, unlike some other airbenders we know. I'm looking at you, Zaheer. So he is not only a powerful character, but also is a true airbender. And that is why I have him as number 1 on this list. If you enjoyed this ranking, I really hope you check out my top 5 rankings for water, earth, and firebenders, and subscribe for more Avatar and more movie and TV content in general.